Well, let's get started with a question from Thomas. Thomas says this: I'm a 52-year-old male with a deep history of improper training, poor recovery, and a deep baggage of injuries. I've learned a lot and continue to make rapid progress in my recovery, through a combination of rolfing, self-massage, and rehab, but I still have a long way to go. As I progress, however, I continue to age, and I'm convinced about maintaining my muscle mass. I've heard about your armor building formula, but as of today, though my injuries prevent me from doing any kind of push exercises or even racking kettlebells or barbells over my head, I can, however, perform squats, deadlifts, and pulls, snatch pulls, clean pulls that I learned when I tried Olympic lifting. My question is, how you feel about using snatch pulls for armor building, and what protocol do you recommend? Okay, Thomas, and this is, folks, this is the problem with injuries and, getting hurt. It is harder and harder to keep working around injuries, I've been around friends who've blown their pecs off and their biceps off, and yet still want to do bench press, chin-ups and curls. It's hard to do. Thomas, I like your question. You remind me of a good friend of mine. My family, we call him Pizza Steve. He's now a doctor, a chiropractor, and he was a great shot putter in college. And he just did clean high pulls and snatch high pulls instead of the actual Olympic lifts. He was a little undersized, but he still threw really amazing far by doing those lifts. So, if you're doing squats and you're doing deadlifts, you're basically going to be carrying the bulk of the body mass you need to work in a mass building program. For some of the listeners, I would say, focus on the deadlift more and maintain the squat. Other listeners, I might say, focus on the squat and really maintain the deadlift, kind of depending on how you're kind of built. But since you're doing snatches, snatch grip pulls, and clean grip pulls, in your case, you can probably push the deadlifts just depending what you want to do with them. I mean, you can do them like I use. I use Romanian deadlifts to keep my hamstrings in good shape. It was funny, I was never a real fan of the lift until I became much better at kettlebells. Kettlebells weirdly taught me the hinge better than the Olympic lifts. And of course, your mileage may vary, but it really did help me. So for me, when I do like a Romanian deadlift, it's butt back, butt back, butt back. And it seems to work really good, really well for my hamstrings. So for you on the list of exercises you gave me, I would focus on the squat for mass building. Now, reminder, and this is maybe true for most of our listeners, is that, after a while, it gets harder and harder to put on mass. Most of us have a story. Sometimes it's called beginner gains, or I see it as newbie gains now online. But I remember when I first started lifting with Dick Notmeyer, I put on 40 pounds in 4 months, drug-free, just by working my legs 5 days a week in Olympic lifting. So 40 pounds, I got up to 202. The next year, I put on another 20 pounds. My junior year in college, I kind of put on a few more pounds. And then by my senior year, I probably put on a couple of pounds, but it was very small. So for most people, let's just pretend that's the system. 40, 20, 10, 5. We'll just pretend that's a normal 4-year newbie gain mass building system. And again, what I just said is full of logical holes and issues, but let's just stick with it. If you're working your lower back, your butt, your hips, your thighs hard, you're still going to gain the same amount of weight. So I know this with some of my listeners, they just want to look, they just want the pecs, the shoulders, the guns, and six-pack abs. So in your case, Thomas, we're going to have to figure out a few things. So let's get started. First off, I think high rep squats would be a very good idea for you. The thing about being 52 is you should be thinking a lot now as you turn the corner into more bodybuilding. So I would really hope you squat deep. I hope you drive your knees out as you squat. I hope you have flexible ankles, flexible hips. Your lower back is in a proper position, because squatting is a good mobility exercise. since I'm going to tell you not to worry about the deadlift too much, pick a variation in the deadlift that, kind of works with the squatting. That's why I was thinking Romanian deadlift. Now, finally, on the snatch pulls and the clean pulls, if you're going to do them for hypertrophy purposes, you're going to have, the rule is, more than 5, which is a lot for an Olympic lifter. But, you want to be in the 8 to 12 range. One thing I would suggest you try out a little bit is give yourself, anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks to bring these lifts up. I didn't see a lot of issues. You talk about shoulder issues, but you really don't talk much about like back issues. So one thing I'd recommend, maybe even at first, don't make them explosive, powerful snatch pulls. Take a light bar, work yourself through a full range of motion, even an empty bar for a workout or two. Get your sets of 8, 12 reps. Don't necessarily Olympic lift them. Get yourself a nice feel for things, and then give yourself a day or two after those workouts just to check in to see if those are bothering your shoulders. You're going to have 2 options, the snatch grip and the clean grip. I would suggest, we used to call them Holbrook high pulls, but we would pull our snatch pulls up to our forehead, and we try to pull our clean pulls up to our chin. These are, of course, you'll see those in the 1950s books and magazines as a bodybuilding exercise. I'm not necessarily saying doing upright rows, that popular exercise you saw back in the day with the hands next to each other. I liked it, but I guess it's really rough on some people's shoulders. But with the clean grip, do a day where you bring it up to your chin. With the snatch grip, do a day where you bring it up, to forehead height. Try not to use momentum the first couple of workouts, and then slowly nudge yourself up both in how far you're bringing the bar down. So maybe start at what I call, from the hinge, which is basically just under your belt buckle. Slide it down to the mid thigh, slide it down to the 1 inch above the knee, slide it down to 1 inch below the knee, and then even try the floor over a couple of month period. With the snatch grip high pulls, try really hard to have that. Try the forehead as a target for a few exercises. If that's too light for you, you're not getting anything out of it, certainly you can go lower to chin height. But I want you to experiment with both the clean and the snatch separately. Give yourself at least a week or 2 of practice. Again, starting very slow and building up. Maintaining muscle mass after age 50. Of course, usually I use the line in the sand at 55 when it just becomes imperative. After 55, it's lean body mass, basic bodybuilding. It is losing body fat, which is caloric intervention and walking. And at some level, you've got to do mobility work. In my gym, we do mobility work between each and every set in the weight room. So like yesterday, I did incline benches. In between each set, I did neck nods. Between my sets of bench press, I did the speed skater original strength exercise that we call fro zones. I did egg rolls. So I always try to, and these are on my mobility workouts here on YouTube that you can look up. So I do a set of that between every set. So if I'm doing 5 sets of an exercise, I'm also doing 5 sets of a complementary joint mobility exercise. Lean body mass is crucial. Joint mobility is second. And then at some level, you've got to do something that keeps the fast twitch muscle fibers. And I like what you're doing here with the high pulls. That's why I still compete as an Olympic lifter, is that, for 8 to 12 weeks, once, twice a year, I'm snatching, clean and jerking, and, working on my fast twitch muscle fibers, trying to keep them around. Maintaining muscle mass has to be a very focused thing after age 50, but you have to do it in conjunction with joint mobility. With your shoulder issues, I'd love for you to keep testing and trying to find some upper body movements that don't distress you. But for the bulk of us, we can get away. For most men I would work with, most men now. First off, you got to commit to the steps. You got to do your steps every day. 1 day a week, I do my great 8 sprints. This week it was twice. You can also do hill sprints. Walk, hill sprints, or sprint. And then if you're doing that and you're doing your 10 to 15,000 steps every day, then you can get away with 2 upper body workouts a week and 1 lower body workout for most men in most situations to maintain muscle mass. Now, you have to go backwards. If you're not getting your sprints in, you probably have to add more leg work in. If you're not getting your walking in, you're going to have to, I don't want you to, but you might have to light up the cardio somehow in your life. Personally, I'd rather see you walk, sprint 2 days a week and walk 7 days a week than do some of those other modalities. And there's nothing wrong with any of them. But the key, Thomas, and just remind yourself, you're 52. What do you be doing a decade from now, 2 decades from now, 3 decades from now, 4 decades from now? Because that's the key. Hope that was helpful. And it is a simple formula. Sprint once or twice a week, walk daily 10 to 15,000 steps, 2 upper body workouts, 1 lower. Do joint mobility between each and every set of every lifting exercise. Have some caloric intervention, and mostly try not to be an idiot, which is a hard one. And I know that in my own case. Thank you, Thomas. Fun question.